Shut up and sit down.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? Well, I am Simon from Nerd Safari, and you know that I'm a sucker for fan service, so of course you can predict what we're gonna do. We are gonna dive into the 2020 action epic Bad Boys for Life.
It's official. I survived what I've been through. Y'all got drama, the saga continue. Fight! Bad boy for life.
Now, first of all, even though this movie comes 17 years after Bad Boys 2 and 25 years after the original movie, the formula still works. Even though the characters in the movie are now so old that they're trying to be good men rather than bad boys, you've still got the same chemistry, the same humor, and the same epic action sequences that made the original movies such fun romps.
It's official. I survived what I've been through. Y'all got drama, the saga continue.
Let's talk about the leads here for a second as well, because Mike Lowrey in the 2020s appears very different to the Mike Lowrey of the 1990s. He appears pretty self-obsessed, very narcissistic, extremely reckless, and honestly not much of a likable guy.
You want your legacy to be muscle shirts and body counts?
But thankfully he's played by Will Smith, who of course is the most charming, likable actor on the planet.
Look at this mess, it's carnage!
I didn't do all this.
You didn't shoot anybody?
Well, come on, Cap. You know I shot some people.
Yeah.
Now, Martin Lawrence doesn't have that problem. Marcus Burnett is now a grandfather in this movie, and Martin Lawrence still plays him to a T. It feels extremely comfortable to see Lawrence back in that role.
I got this. I'm gonna penetrate this man's soul with my heart.
What? Watch and learn.
Sir, I realize that you're scared. You know, sometimes fear. How deep you think you got in his soul?
When the leads get together, it just makes for comedy gold, and it really doesn't matter the setting. As with the previous movies, just seeing the two of them argue while driving in a car together is magic.
Hey!
Oh, shit. Oh.
Come on, man!
You could get that buffed out.
No, you can get that buffed out.
The supporting cast in this movie is also surprisingly awesome, and for me, I particularly love the AMMO or AMO task force, especially Alexander Ludwig, who you probably remember from Hunger Games or Vikings, playing some kind of pacifist nerd where he's afraid of violence. Now, I'm sure you can predict how his story arc plays out, even if you haven't seen the movie, but it's still really, really fun to watch.
Hey,
What she gonna do? What she gonna do when we come in?
No, never. Y'all will never do that again.
And if you like running jokes through franchises, there are a ton of callbacks in Bad Boys for Life. But most of all, for me, these guys really need to learn the lyrics to that song at some point, surely.
Yeah, and you fucking up the lyrics, which take a long time to learn.
So one piece of trivia you may not have realized is that this movie was not actually directed by Michael Bay. It was actually directed by Bill El Fallah and Adi El Arbi, who had had success with two Belgian movies over the last 10 or 15 years, and this was their first primary Hollywood project. And the movie studio made it very clear to them that if they failed at this project, they would never work in Hollywood again. But the two of them were so excited to take on the Bad Boys franchise and to work with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence that they were up for the opportunity. Here's something that's also a little bit funky. It may be hard to believe today, but in the time of the first Bad Boys movies, Martin Lawrence was actually a bigger movie star than Will Smith, so he got top billing in the credits. This is the first Bad Boys movie where Will Smith gets top billing over Martin Lawrence. I love Mike Lowrey's apartment in this movie. Incredible views, amazing lighting, super upmarket. Well, that's actually the Bentley Bay condominiums in Florida, and you're in luck if you want to move there. There are 5 apartments left with an average price of $2 million each. You may notice a weird moment in this movie where Will Smith refers to the Ammo crew as a high school musical boy band. And that's probably because Vanessa Hudgens, who is part of the Ammo crew, actually rose to fame through the High School Musical movies. There's a tiny cameo that you may not have noticed, but I find it really heartwarming when Martin Lawrence's character is trying to get into a nightclub and there's a young girl who doesn't let him in. That's actually Jasmine Lawrence, Martin Lawrence's daughter, playing a small cameo role. You may also remember that in Bad Boys 2, Marcus Burnett tries to steal a car, and the driver of that car is played by director Michael Bay. In Bad Boys for Life, a similar scene plays out with Adi El-Arbi, the new director. Instead, in this movie, they actually steal his car, leaving him stranded. You may also notice that the nightclub in this movie is called Zillions. That's a pretty strange name, right? Does that ring any bells? Well, Zillions is actually a famous or maybe even infamous nightclub in Antwerp in Belgium. And that's where Adi and Bilal, the two directors of this movie, made their fame. So that's all the trivia I have for you from the Bad Boys trilogy. Hopefully I've given you enough reasons to go back and watch those movies again, and I would strongly recommend watching the three back to back or as close as you can.
Bad boy, that's what's up. He's trying to do them all. We're not just black, we're cops too. We'll pull ourselves over later.
And let me ask you then, Bad Boys, one last time? One last time.
One last time. One last time.
That's it, my friends. I am Simon from Nerd Safari. Peace out.
Shut up and sit down.